When it comes to sequencers, there's no shortage of available options these days. You guys see me use them all the time. Riffer, Euclidean Sequencer Pro, just sequencing inside of Ableton Live itself. There's no shortage of really good high quality sequencers out there. But there's one sequencer that I came across recently that blew me away as far as the modulation goes, and that is Stepic. Stepic from Devicemeister is a really compelling and extremely powerful sequencer that you gotta check out, and we're gonna take a look at it in an ambient context here today. So if you like this kind of video, make sure you smash that like button on the way in, subscribe to this channel if you guys feel called to do so, and if you're really looking for more instruction and you wanna learn more, be sure to check out my Patreon. There you'll find tons of extra tutorials, tons of extra presets for all your favorite synthesizers. We're having a live Q&A next week. We'll have one-on-one coaching, the science circle, and so much more. You can join for as little as $3 a month. Check it out, the link is down below. That being said, let's get into some Stepic. All right, so here we are inside of Ableton Live 11. Now today we're gonna be taking a look at Stepic. Stepic is an extremely powerful sequencer from Devicemeister. And I was tipped off about Stepic by one of my patrons who said, you've got to try this. So I reached out to the developer and he's super cool. And he was like, yes, I want you to take a look at it on your channel. So here we are. Stepic comes in two different varieties, the Max for Live version where it originally started and now a VST version. So if you don't use Live, I highly recommend that you use the VST version. You can control all kinds of stuff. You control your external synths using CCs. It's extremely powerful. But today I'm going to be taking a look at the Max for Live version, which makes more sense if you're using Ableton Live. So this is Stepic. And as you can see, it's pretty awesome the way it's laid out. I'm also going to grab an instance of Wavetables so we have something to listen to. Now, most of you who watch this channel are pretty familiar with sequencers. I mean, I've used a bunch of them on this channel. You guys see me using Euclidean Sequencer Pro or Riffer, things like that. So what makes Stepic different? Is not only the fact that you have access to all of this stuff right on the main page, which is really nice. You have a 16-step sequencer. You can see there's lots of dice functions here. You can do a lot of randomization, but the main star of the show is the automation lanes. You have 8 lanes of 16-step automation, and you can map any of these lanes to anything inside of your DAW. Now, even if you're using something that's not, say, an Ableton Live native instrument, like if you're using Vital or Serum or something like that, all you have to do is configure the instrument just like you would if you were going to do automation, and then put that control inside of the automation lane and you're good to go. And you can just hit map, touch it, off and running. It's pretty amazing. And we'll get into that in just a second. All right. So there's pretty much like a couple different ways you can use Stepic. Stepic is polyphonic. That's also something that's really important to note. So you can use Stepic in a polyphonic way, meaning you can play chords into it. You can set up chords. You can play as many notes as you want at the same time with Stepic. So you could use Stepic and say, not just a sequencing context, you can write entire songs with it. It's got 16 patterns up here. You can do, I mean, it's really, really powerful. I'm just gonna get that out of the way. So I'm gonna play in the key of B minor here. Now, right at the top, you see that it has a root note. So you can set the root note and then you can set a scale. That's cool, right? So you can see that as soon as I set it to natural minor, all of these notes down here went red. This is the chord editor, and the red notes mean that's out of scale. So any note that you sort of input after that, that's in scale. Now, it's got a nice flexible interface. That's nice to see. I'm gonna use Stepic in this way, where I'm gonna use the grid. You can just input the notes, but just keep in mind that like as soon as you start inputting notes down here, you're playing chords. So it's gonna, if you record it, it's gonna make, it's gonna start playing it as chords, like 2 or 3 note chords. So anyway, I'm just gonna start keying in some notes and then we're gonna rock and roll. So I don't know, we'll just kind of just play around here and put in some notes. It's already restricted to scale, so anything that I play is gonna be in B minor right now. So I'm also going to, let's just kind of set up our sound before we start. Put in some unison, turn on the filter a little bit, make it maybe 24, turn up some resonance. Yeah, that looks good. All right, so let's go ahead and hit play here. That's cool. All right, so we've got a basic sequence started. Now down here at the bottom, you can see you have octave control. And what's cool is that you can either set this up as random, like you can touch all the dice, or you can set this up to say an odd number. And so it's not gonna happen every single time. You do something like that, right? For the duration, you can hold Alt and move all of these at the same time, okay? So that's nice. So just keep in mind that there's like secondary controls. You either right click on things. It tells you exactly what you're doing there at the bottom. But so now we've sort of got a 9-note sequence here. Let's make it back to 16. Cool. All right, so that's interesting to me. Now, what can we do with the modulation? As you can see, you can either modulate, if you don't want all the steps on, you could say, see how I hit the dice right there? So that means that that step is now, it might be on, it might not be on. So the dice is like a probability chance. And so you can say, all right, well, you could do that for the whole lane. You could just kind of say, all right, now some are on, some are off, right? There's different values here, and that's cool. So let's go over to the automation, because that's where the fun begins, all right? And if I turn on this automation lane, now it's active, and there's a map button right here. Now, the map button, you can use that to touch any part of your interface, or you could set it up where, like I said earlier, you can grab any part of, say, a synthesizer and hit the configure lane. So if you see we have Wavetable open here, I could grab any one of these things and start going for it, all right? But let's just keep it simple, all right? And I'm going to just say open Stepic. I'm going to map, say, the decay and release of the actual thing. So let's go release here, all right? So now, as you can see, it's all being done at 0, but watch this. If I hit the random button, now that release time is changing, all right? You can restrict it to what's the max and what's the minimum, all right? And then dice it again, and now we're at an acceptable level. So now, sometimes it's moving, sometimes it's not. You see that? You can set it at an odd number, and then it never repeats the same thing twice. That's cool. Let's go on. So let's now open up another automation lane, and we'll say, all right, let's have 4 here. We're gonna map it to, say, the wavetable position. All right, open up Stepic, hit the dice button again. All right, and now we're really moving. You can restrict that movement, so you can kind of say, all right, well, let's kind of give it a certain range here, dice it again. All right, and now we're restricting ourselves to between like a sine and a triangle. So now we got like a sine and a triangle kind of thing. You can make it a little bit bigger, dice it again. And now we're kind of reaching into sawtooth territory, dice it again. All right, and it tells you exactly what you're mapping up there at the top, all right? This is good, all right? This is a good start. So we could also do the attack here, but I'm not gonna get into that. Let's just keep it a nice sequency kind of sequence here, if you will. All right, so let's turn on oscillator 2 here, and we can make this sort of a different wavetable. Let's select from, say, do I have any in here? No, I don't have any in here. I thought I did. Let's go into complex. That's interesting. Bit ring, octaphase. Oh, that's interesting. I love Wavetable. All right, cool. We will turn on filter 2 here. And let's make this a low pass as well. Turn up the frequency. Here we go. All right, we're gonna run these in parallel. Okay, cool. Let's do some filter movement here with that, with Stepic. Or actually, we can mess with the panning here. Let's mess with the panning on oscillator 2. So let's go ahead. We're gonna go down and, oh yeah, nice. So now what we've done is oscillator 2's pan is now connected. Right, there we go. So now we're just panning oscillator 2. That's cool. I love that. All right, we can kind of minimize this to an acceptable length. Dice it again. can hear that little motion. That's cool. That's a nice subtle touch of motion, right? Turn on another mapping. Let's move the wavetable position here. Dice it again. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so now we have a nice sequence that's kind of evolving and never really repeats. We can actually add some of the, like, let's say the divider in here. So we can like say, all right, it's gonna divide every once in a while. Yeah. And because I have it set at an odd number, it's never gonna repeat the same way twice, right? That's nice. We haven't even added any effects yet. Or any filter movement, should we say. So let's actually add some filter movement. We could do something kind of cool, like kind of random. You know, it ends up being more of like a sample and hold thing if you don't do it really subtly. So we'll turn on automation lane number 5. And let's just say we're gonna move the frequency here, all right? It comes in as 0 because we haven't done anything yet, but we can dice it, all right? There we go, dice it. And by dice it, I mean randomize it. That's what I'm doing. All right, so we're gonna map it here to the frequency of oscillator 2. Now it's important to note that like, you have a counter here and that counter, if it's still running and you touch anything else on the interface, it's gonna map to that as well. So make sure to, once you've set your target, click off of that counter so you're not gonna touch anything else, okay? Just a small little note there. But we could dice as many times as we want. We could do it at an odd number so it never repeats. That's nice. We can also set the sequence length to a custom length here. So we could say 2/1, right? So then it's not really changing that often. It's kind of going slower rather than the sequence length, which right now it's set at 16 notes. So that's cool. Now let's add some effects. All right, we haven't even gotten to the effects yet. So let's add some effects. We're gonna turn up the volume here a little bit. Let's just add a stock Ableton delay. That's always nice because we actually access the interface here. So we'll turn the dry wet down. With Stepic though, check it out. We can go Stepic and we can say on automation lane number 6, we can map it out. Let's move over to the filtering and the filter frequency of this delay, all right? And we will go ahead and dice it up. All right, so now the filtering is changing on that delay. This is a nice trick that he did in his video. Up. Hold on for a second. Let's delete that. Let's try it again. We're gonna map it to that delay frequency. There we go. Make sure to turn off your mapping. There we go. So that's cool. Like now we have a really nice sequence that's kind of like, it's evolving. It's going. We're at what? Dotted 8th notes here. Love this. Okay. Add a little reverb here. Oh yeah. Stepic. What can I say? Like, it's really one of those special sequencers that comes along every once in a while where you're like, wow, that's powerful, right? Now think about this. You could also use all of these modulation lanes in external instruments. I could use it on my Hydrosynth. I could use it on my DeepMind, anything. Like anything you got that accepts CC, that's gonna work with it too. So that's really exciting. Let's now add an instance of Vital here and get some ambiance going. All right, so this was a new pack that I just released on Patreon recently, but check this out. Listen to how this sounds now. Combine that with Stepic. Oh man. I mean, seriously, like, wow. You see what I'm saying? How powerful that is? I mean, wow. Final thoughts here on Stepic. We didn't even get into half of what this sequencer can do. Honestly, there's all kinds of probability features in here. There's no repeat. We didn't even mess with the velocity. You obviously can do that. I could dice it if I wanted to. I mean, like, Stepic is truly, like I said, one of those really, really special sequencers that comes along every once in a while that, when used in the context of this kind of music, and when you really take into account how much variation you can put into it and how much motion you can add to something that, you know, it would take you hours to program that in, you know, using standard automation. But with Stepic, you have it all right there available in a convenient package where your creativity is the only thing that's limiting you between making awesome sounds and creating deep, complex sequences. And then not only that, but you can arrange it in different patterns and songs, and like, it's endless. So if you're looking for a new sequencer to inspire you, if you're looking for something that's really gonna take what you do to the next level, check out Stepic. Thank you guys so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. I am just like, every time I dive into this thing, I'm like, wow, look what we just made, right? And it inspires me to sort of like say that could be a whole album worth of material. So I'm excited for the future. I'm excited to see what the developer comes up with next. But as a sort of like flag in the ground, like, here is the sequencer, one sequencer to rule them all, this is definitely a worthy contender. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much. If you want to learn more, please check out my Patreon. I've got tons of extra tutorials on there, lots of presets, and live Q&As we're doing now. We're live streams, exclusive material, the Science Circle, ambient coaching, and so much more. You can join for as little as $3 a month. The link is down below in the description. So, happy music making, y'all. Thank you again for watching, and as always, keep your heads in the clouds and your feet planted firmly on the ground. My name is Chris from Science of Life, and I'll see you all in the next one.